What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about why dealerships are scared. Now, this goes hand in hand with the auto loan crisis. We talked about how this is affecting consumers, but we didn't talk about how it's actually affecting dealers, and that's what we're going to do in the video today. But before I get into the video, if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button, it helps get my video out to people like yourselves that enjoy automotive content. We're on the road to hitting 500,000, so please subscribe, and let's get into the video. Now, for the last 3 years, everybody's been so fixated on prices of cars. When are the prices going to go down? What are the new prices coming out? Prices, prices, prices. But I kept telling everybody the auto loan crisis is what's going to set the market up for everything. It's going to dictate price. How does this affect dealers? Well, if banks are losing lots of money, they're not going to be able to finance the high dollar amounts or over LTV what they traditionally did. So if your car costs, let's say $100,000 and they give you 90% of LTV, which is loan to value, that means that they're only going to lend you on that car $90,000. That means that the consumer has to come up with $10,000 for a down payment. And little by little, this is affecting the market, bringing everybody back down to reality. That's why you see a lot of new cars not going for over MSRP. One, because the demand is not there, and two, the banks simply won't finance those crazy LTVs like they did during the pandemic. And all these things are basically putting pressure on dealers to lower prices. So now I'm going to tell you how this is actually affecting dealers and how so many dealers are actually going out of business now. So I'm going to show you how loans work from a dealer side, so this way regular consumers like yourselves can get the perspective of why dealerships are so scared and why a lot of them are going out of business. And I think this will also open up a lot of eyes. Now, as a regular consumer, when you go in to buy a car, traditionally, you're going to go in there and want some sort of financing. Now, when this happens, there's a lot of factors that come into actually what banks will charge us. Now, there is a thing called a buy fee. This is a fee that the bank charges to buy the deal from the dealership. Now, if you have really good credit, most times they don't charge a fee or they charge a very small one. But if you have bad credit, maybe high DTI, or the car is worth more than what they're trying to loan for it, a lot of times they will offset their risk by increasing the actual fee on each one of these cars or each loan. Now, I want you to remember that banks always want to offset their risk, and this is how they do it, either with a bigger fee or with interest they pass on to the consumer. So if you come in and you have okay credit and you want to buy one of these cars, and let's say a few of these cars are a little bit overpriced, what the bank might do is say, okay, well, we're going to take this, but we want to charge you $1,000 on every single car to purchase these things because it's not really worth it. We think that it's going to be risky paper. We don't want to keep it in our auto loan portfolio. So let's just say that the numbers for these cars, to keep it simple, are $10,000. Now, after the bank looks at all these cars, says, you know what, these cars are not really worth that. We're going to give you a buy fee of $500. So what does that mean? That means that the consumer yourself is getting a $10,000 loan, where the dealer itself is only going to get a check for $9,500. They're going to charge them that $500 to purchase this deal. Now, traditionally, this was a very small amount going forward before the pandemic. During the pandemic, it pretty much disappeared because they were just throwing money. But now I talk to so many dealers that are getting absolutely crushed. So imagine having a $500 buy fee on something that's 10 grand, not that big of a deal. But imagine if you were charged $2,000, $3,000. This is what banks are being faced with, and dealers, because they can't sell the cars. The customers are not qualified, short job time, bad credit, or the cars are worth a lot less than what they're trying to finance them. And this is one of the other problems, and this is why dealerships are going out of business. They're taking massive losses. So if they're trying to sell the car for $12,000 and it's only worth $10,000, and the bank gives you a check for $9,500, you're already losing from the get-go. And so this is what's happening to dealers, and this is what's kind of snowballing them going out of business, because the banks simply don't want to overpay for cars that are not going to perform under their portfolio. Remember, they either charge you a big fee to buy it, or they're going to charge you more interest. This is why when you start going into new car stores, you're seeing interest rates of 10, 15% on brand new cars, which is crazy. That's even if you have good credit. Banks are doing this to offset all the bad loans. So think about it this way. Everybody that pays their bills that actually has good credit, you're paying for all the mistakes from all the stimulus ballers that basically are late on their payments. This is one thing, like I said, that's rapidly affecting dealerships all across the United States, and they're losing money. So every time I talk to a dealer, they're really scared because there's no profitability. If banks are charging $2,000 to $3,000, they can't afford it. There's no profit in these cars. But to add insult to injury, what they're doing is, okay, well, what is if we give you more recourse to take this? Will you take less of a buy fee? Now, if you're wondering what recourse is, this is where a dealership is basically married to a customer for 1 to 3 payments. Now, I've seen some crazy people, 6-month recourses, which is absolutely insane, but let me explain. So what the bank does is now that they give you a really high fee of, let's say, $2,000, $3,000, you're gonna be like, okay, I'll do a 3-month recourse if you give me a $500 fee. So remember, the bank is always trying to push the numbers around to their favor. So they figured, okay, we'll give you a discount on the fees, but you're going to be married to these customers for 90 days. Now, this doesn't seem like a big deal, but guess what's happened the last year? People are getting laid off, bills are going up, inflation is going crazy, and people are not making their car payments. So let's just say out of these 4 cars, 2 of the customers make it past that probationary period where they pay their payments for the 90 days. But what about these 2 other cars? What happens? Well, what happens is the bank calls up the dealer, say, hey, these 2 customers didn't make all their payments on time in the first 90 days. You have to buy back the loan. So when the bank pays you for these cars, now you have to give all that money back to the bank. They keep everything. And now it's your job as a dealer to go chase these cars. They could be in the state you sold them to. They could be across the country. They could be in Mexico. Who knows? But now the dealership is forced to go chase after these cars. And let's say you sell 50, 60 cars a month and you're getting, let's say, 5 to 10 every single month coming back on recourse. People are just not making the payments. And so now it goes from 2 to the next month you have 4, then 6, then 8, and you can kind of see how things are snowballing and it's getting out of control for dealerships. Now, I won't say the dealership's name, but a guy I know here in Las Vegas, unfortunately, he got a buyback for $280,000. So over the last 3 months, he had a handful of deals that didn't make their first payment, second payment, or third payment. And so now the bank is saying, you know what? You can go find your cars, give us a check for $280,000 and good luck. And with this information, he basically just had to close his doors. He can't afford to stroke a check for $280,000 and then go chase his cars. Now, this is some of the things that I talked about happening when it comes to the auto loan crisis. So everybody that thought this wasn't a big deal, this is proof of what's going to happen. Now that he's closing, he's got 80 cars on his lot. Where are those 80 cars going to go? They're going to go back to the auction. And then that supply is going to get greater and greater. Demand is going lower. It's harder to get financed. And you could see the reciprocal system that's slowly building up inventory and lowering prices. That's why I tell everybody, don't focus on the prices. Focus on the financing and what's currently going on with actual auto loan portfolios, because I know they don't talk about it in the news. That's why most of you guys watch my channel. Is when stuff like this happens, it has such a major effect. It literally closes dealership doors. And this is what we're seeing, and it's getting even faster. I've heard people in Florida, Texas, the East Coast, everybody's complaining about buybacks and recourse. Now, a lot of dealerships don't do recourse, which is good. You want to stay away from that. But when banks start losing money, like I said, they hit you with either higher interest, higher buy fees where they'll charge you on each car, or they'll hit you up on recourse. Now, if you're a dealership and you're desperate and you're trying to get rid of all this overpriced inventory that you're stuck with, you're going to be like, you know what, whatever. Let's just charge me $500, charge me whatever, 3-month recourse, and let's just get out of here because I need this money to pay my bills, because all my what's called flooring lines, which are lines of credit, all these companies are on my back telling me I need to pay them off. And so dealers, for the short-term money, will go ahead and say, you know what, these people are good. They're going to pay their bills. And guess what? Now they have to give that money back to the bank. All the money they got originally goes back. And now dealerships are left chasing their tails, going after customers that basically just disappeared. These are some of the things that I really want to focus on the next 6 months, because this is where you're going to see the biggest price drops because of things like this. So when you see a car that's been repoed 2-3 times, or something like this where the dealership had to go buy it, repo it, and take it straight to auction to get the money to pay back the banks, you're going to start to see discounted prices a lot more. But unfortunately, we have to burn a lot of dealerships, a lot of banks before that credit crunch gets even tighter. Now, if you've gone out trying to buy an exotic car, it's getting much, much harder to do so. And all this is relevant because you could see it when you go to get financed. Now, I do talk to some people in the comment section. Let me know if you bought a car with no money down and no proof of income, because there are still some banks doing this stuff, but a lot of them have stepped back and realized that they need to walk away. Now, if you have a higher tier of credit, like a 700, 800, most times they won't ask for proof of income. It's traditionally with the subprime and mid-prime, they're always going to ask for some sort of stipulations, which is proof of income, proof of residence, references, all that other stuff. And you're going to notice little by little, more and more of these banks and dealerships are going to ask for this because they don't want to be left holding the bag chasing these cars. Because remember, over the last 3 years, 90% of auto loans had no proof of income, which was absolutely stupid. And now they don't know where to get these cars. Because remember, once they have to give back the bank's money, the dealerships, have to go chase these people. And dealerships are not really designed for collections. They may get lucky, live in a small town, but if you live in a big city, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Miami, Dallas, Houston, how are you going to find these cars? You're going to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to a repo agent, because remember, repo agents are charging almost double now because there's such a demand for repos. It's just going to cost money left and right, and the system is not built for it. So what happens? Dealers basically implode and go out of business. That's the one thing that I really want to talk about with this particular video. But I would love to know your opinions. What do you think of the current state of the auto loan crisis? Are you going to see prices in your area go down? I'd love to know your opinion in the comment section. I think you guys are going to see quite a few dealers closing up. And once that competitiveness kind of goes away and fear strikes in, they're going to start getting desperate and lowering prices. But this is what you're seeing now. If you're a car sales guy or if you're in finance, please comment below and let people know what you're seeing from your local lenders, because subprime banks like Westlake, Santander, Exeter, all these other ones, they're getting a little more aggressive when it comes to buy fees. But you still have companies like Ally that'll finance people as long as they're a 700 credit score with no proof of income and pretty much a zero discount or zero buy fee, which is crazy. And Ally is the one that's having the most defaults in the prime sector. So all this stuff is basically leading to a lot of doom and gloom. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please put in the comment section below. I try to spend the first hour and a half messaging all you guys and talking back and forth. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to do a consulting call with me, links down below. We have classes. We're going to be doing a weekly webinar where we all get together and just kind of talk Q&A session, have fun about the car business, everything else. So make sure you sign up for that down below, and we'll see you next video.